Kidnappings in Mexico are a menace plaguing the North American nation. An organization that provides support for victims reported that at least 1,271 people were kidnapped in Mexico in 2022. Many fear this recent one that involves 4 Americans won't be the last if it's not completely kicked to the curb. Here's what happened to the 4 Americans kidnapped in Mexico. On the 3rd of March 2023, a video of 4 Americans being kidnapped at gunpoint in broad daylight in a Mexican border city, Matamoros, Tamaulipas, was posted on Twitter and eventually went viral on social media. The 4 individuals, Latvia Washington McGee, Eric Williams, Shahid Woodward, and Zindel Brown, were nabbed in a white minivan with a North Carolina license plate shortly after arriving at the Mexican city of Matamoros from Brownsville, Texas. The video showed the 4 Americans led into the vehicle by armed men. One of the females among the victims was seen forced by the armed men into the cargo bed of a white pickup truck, while 2 other people who looked unresponsive were dragged into the same vehicle. The kidnap was confirmed and announced on the 6th of March by U.S. law enforcement. The U.S. Departments of State, Homeland Security, and Mexican authorities, a $15,000 reward was offered for the return of the 4 Americans and the arrest of their perpetrators. After several efforts from the U.S. and Mexican authorities, the 4 Americans were found at a house outside the city of Matamoros in the early hours of Tuesday, the 7th of March, 2023. Unfortunately, according to reports, 2 of the victims survived the kidnap, not without serious injuries, while the remaining were found dead from gunshots. The kidnap and why the Americans were in Mexico. The video released online, information from the investigating officials, and several friends and family members of the victims gave intel concerning the kidnap of these 4 American citizens. A sister to one of the victims, Zindel Brown, told the authorities that the 4 individuals had traveled to Mexico for, according to her, the 4 were all friends and had agreed to accompany one of them who had a tummy tuck cosmetic surgery appointment in Mexico. She also mentioned that her brother had insisted that the quartet not make the trip, as they were aware of the current dangers in Mexico, but they proceeded anyway. The day before the incident, a close friend of the same victim who did not want to be identified told authorities that the 4 friends booked a hotel in Brownsville, Texas, and had agreed to drive across the border. In another report from the Newsman, the mother of one of the victims, Barbara McLeod Burgess, came forth to acknowledge that her daughter was the one who had the procedure and had traveled years before to Mexico for the same procedure. She said her daughter McGee is a mother of 6. Burgess, while giving her understanding of what happened in the attack, told Newsman what she gathered from her daughter, who was still under intensive medical care. A van suddenly pulled up to attack the white rented van the 4 friends were in with gunshots. The gunshots were directed inside the bus, and eventually all 4 of them got hit at the same time. The van swerved off the road and crashed. McGee said she watched 2 of the quartet die instantly. The police were alerted of the kidnap through a report filed by a certain Cheryl Orange, who claimed that she was with the 4 friends at the hotel booked at Brownsville. 3 of the 4 friends, Williams, Brown, and Woodward, had agreed to drop off their 4th friend, McGee, for her scheduled cosmetic surgery to reconvene with Orange at the hotel later. This was all estimated to happen within 15 minutes of dropping McGee. Orange, who didn't hear from all 4, reported them missing the following day. Thanks to Cheryl Orange's report and the video of the abduction that went viral, U.S. and Mexican authorities swung immediately into action in search of the group. The investigation first revealed that they got past Matamoros around 9:18 a.m. that Friday. They lost their way to the clinic where McGee had her procedure scheduled and had been trying frantically to reach the doctor, but could not because of a poor network signal. While still driving around the city, the group was attacked by unidentified gunmen who kept firing at them until they crashed. The gunmen then forcefully loaded them all into the cargo bed of a white pickup truck. Upon arrival at the scene of the abduction, Mexican authorities, noticing the group's van had North Carolina license plates, immediately contacted U.S. officials to join the investigation. Mexican and U.S. investigators processed vehicles, obtained fingerprint data and ballistics, took biological samples to extract genetic profiles, and worked with every surveillance camera footage possible. All these helped the investigators to identify the gunman's truck before launching a frantic search of the abductees across several agencies. Law enforcement had claimed that search was quite difficult as the abductors kept moving the Americans to different locations to create confusion and avoid rescue efforts. The U.S. Attorney General of Police eventually announced their rescue after they were found at a building on the outskirts of Matamoros on Tuesday morning. Horrors of Tamaulipas, the Gulf Cartel. Tamaulipas state is a border city and a major crossing point for people who travel to other parts of Mexico. U.S. citizens who reside in Brownsville or other close regions in Texas frequent the city to get goods, seek medical tourism for cheap medical care unavailable in the U.S., or to visit family members. Over the years, spring breakers flocking to Texas, South Padre Island, engage in the two-nation vacation, which is usually a night out held in Matamoros. However, tranquility has recently become a thing of the past in this region because of increased cartel violence. What happened to these four Americans is a depiction of the horrors that have plagued the state of Tamaulipas for the last 10 to 15 years. Tamaulipas, for these years, has been dominated by the activities of the Gulf Cartel, one of the most powerful, notorious, and oldest criminal sects in Mexico. The last 15 years have been filled with the Gulf Cartel being at war with its rivals, the Los Zetas. Los Zetas is an intricate part of the Gulf Cartel itself, and currently the most feared gang to regain its hold over the state of Tamaulipas. The Gulf Cartel, also known as Cartel del Golfo, or CDG, has been in existence.
Leading off the top of the third. Oh, it's a push single center.
Hey everybody, I'm here with Dave, who just got a nice win on FanDuel, and it's just the third inning.